So on September the 4th, 1966, I was about 15 miles north of Hanoi when I got hit by a SAM missile. Ejected from a piece of falling wreckage and parachute open, hit the ground probably about 20 seconds later. I was in solitary confinement when I was first captured until I moved after my month, I moved to another camp in Hanoi we called the Zoo, and that's where I spent the next 5 years. The day I went home was February the 18th, 1973. I spent most of my time in the Philippines. In 2006, I was in the States, and I gave a short talk about my experiences as a POW to a group of old flyers called the Red Barons. And after I gave the talk, an old gentleman came up to me and said, I heard part of your talk, you said you live in the Philippines. He told me that his brother had been in a dogfight in World War II in the Philippines and had never returned, and no trace was ever found of the brother or the plane he was flying. Would I snoop around?
And asked him if he would have anything to do with finding my brother.
And I, of course, said, sure I would, thinking to myself, Philippines is a really big place.
Well, I was very happy about that because I hadn't gotten any response from JPAC other than negative.
It's going to sound cheesy, but he's my father, he's also my friend, and he's my hero. He was in World War II, B-24 pilot, and he flew 32 missions, brought his entire crew home and himself safe, and he's just a remarkable man. My uncle's name was Earl Reynolds Stone. I always knew of him. Many times during family gatherings, his name would be brought up. But it was just later in life when I realized the impact it had on my family and that my father was still looking.
MacArthur was very anxious to find out where the invasion force was. And these 6 airplanes went out, and Earl was one of them. The Japanese pilot in his airplane chased him, and they both flew up in the Mount Mariveles. They said that he was killed and sent the telegram to my folks, and they came down and told me about his death. My dad had a couple of nervous breakdowns due to that, and that's one of the reasons he died pretty young.
So nothing happened. There was no search, there was nothing. So until I went over there and started piecing around, asking questions. So I found a guy named Lito Rubia who owns a shipyard in Mariveles, and he told me, you know, one of my men told me a story about an airplane wreck up on Mount Mariveles. They went up the mountain, and that afternoon I got a text from Lito, we found it. I thought, oh God, this is too good. So my answer was, take lots of pictures, see you tomorrow. And the very first picture that popped on the screen was of a radial engine, a round engine. And I said, oh, geez. And I knew instantly that wasn't the American P-40, because the P-40 has a V-12 Allison engine, and this was a radial engine exactly like in the Nakajima-97. When we found Sergeant Kurosawa's crash site, the Japanese guy involved in the dogfight sent the information to the Department of Human Welfare in Japan, which is equivalent to JPAC. They barraged me with information and sent a team to the Philippines. This Japanese team went up the mountain to the crash site and recovered remnants of the Nakajima-97.
I felt all kinds of emotions. My heart sank. I just felt betrayed by our own government. I felt, why couldn't it have been Earl? I was upset. I was joyful too, because I was told that they could learn things from that crash site that would help us with Earl's. There were a lot of different feelings I went through.
The Japanese came in and took care of the airplane, and the airplane that was quite close, maybe 100 yards from Earl's airplane.
We ourselves did not find any teeth or bones, but like I said, that the area is pretty big, and how much, you know, I mean, we're just little old me paying for this. So we need a big outfit to grid this thing out and find his remains, get the DNA matched to his living brother, Weststone, and bring him home. But JPAC promised they'd come, they didn't. And I've got all the letters, the evidence I sent to JPAC saying, here, we found it, we're waiting for you, and all of their bureaucratic excuses.
I think maybe they thought that it was too long ago or something, but they didn't show a heck of a lot of interest.
My father was a veteran. He did his job. My uncle was a veteran. He did his job. And now that we need JPAC, where are they?
After all these years, PH, Philippine U.S. to search for remains of World War II MIAs. I made this happen. Me and with a lot of help from a couple of colonels in the U.S. Embassy, some really good guys that I met over a beer and stuff, and they wrote letters, and the fact is, they were totally unaware of this, so I took color pictures of this and emailed it to General Tom and Johnny Webb and all the rest of the bureaucrats at JPAC.
What was your response to that?
We're planning a trip to the recovery site of Lieutenant Stone. Right now we're looking for a helicopter. And my answer to that was, look, my 60-year-old partner, Kevin Hamdorf, has been up that mountain 5 times. And we walk up there. It only takes 5 hours. The JPAC is full of young, tough, enlisted guys whose job is to go find things. Surely you can just hike up there. And their answer was, we haven't yet found a helicopter with the insurance can be approved by JPAC.
Well, it's just important to me and my family, and we have a crypt over at Forest Lawn, and we have his wings over there, and it's been there for several years, and we would like to complete the thing and have his ashes put over there.
It's been 70 years, but it's the right thing to do. And JPAC they publicize, they're saying no one is left behind. Well, my uncle's been left behind, and he deserves to come home. He deserves to be placed in Forest Lawn with his mother and father. It's simple. It doesn't take a lot of intelligence to figure that out. And we have a place for him. We have wings on the plaque for him, and JPAC just keeps giving us empty promises.
I just absolutely have no confidence or no faith in JPAC, any of them.
Spike did phenomenal things. And I'm writing to President Obama. I wrote to Congressman Waxman. I wrote to Senator McCain. I've reached out to every possible source I could. And I'm just hoping that one day that we can bring Earl home, my father can have closure, and I want it done on his watch, not mine. He's 94 years old, and he's in wonderful health, but you never know. You never know how long someone's going to be here.
Wes Stone and his daughter Liz Stone barraged JPAC with, when are you going to do what you promised? Go recover my brother.
It's more frustration because there's so many families, and we feel that JPAC could do a lot more. There are a lot of families out there that are hurting, and it's just the reluctance of JPAC, whether it's funding, whether it's the mission, the difficulty of the mission, it's still their job.
Well, freedom ain't free, and these guys died protecting the things that the United States was based on, freedom. And you start deserting your soldiers, and then the other soldiers realize that the government doesn't give a damn about them. Nothing could be more important than bringing home to the families their loved ones who died.
An internal JPAC report released in 2013 summarized inept and wasteful management practices and stated that their entire recovery and identification processes were so grossly incompetent that the average time to identify the remains of a body had become 11 years. And there are currently over 2,000 sets of remains backlogged in JPAC's warehouses.
What they need is some aggressive young colonel to get in there with the backing of the President of the United States and everybody below him and just say, do it, go, and God, this is the United States of America. We don't need a bunch of, it's just a bureaucratic drinking club.
I hope that there's new life in JPAC and that they get the proper funding, and perhaps maybe the complacency that exists today will end.